Well, the Steelers played some pretty good football, at least 2.5 quarters of some really good football. 27-14 against the Browns. What do you think about that?
Well, someone from my work asked me what I thought about the game, and I told him, like, it didn't feel like the Steelers scored 27 points. Because the first half, I was watching the game, and I'm like, this is a Kenny Pickett type of game. 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. I think they had 4 3 and outs in this one game. And one of the announcers said that the Steelers, in their 2 games prior, only had 2 3 and outs in the last 2 games. But this game, they had 4 3 and outs. So it felt very dragged on. I was really irritated. It seems like there was miscues from Russell Wilson.
Well, it's discouraging, because going into the playoffs, I mean, field goals are good, but field goals are not going to win a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Now, it may come down to a field goal if it's a tie game, but I'm just saying, there's twice this year that we've had 6 field goals in 2 games. Okay? I mean, each game was 6 field goals.
Yeah.
And we won the games. Okay? That's but you're not going to be able to do that in the playoffs in the Super Bowl. You're just not going to be able to do that. That's not going to win games. So when we drive all the way down in that first quarter against the Browns, there are, I think it might have even been our first possession. We go all the way down inside the red zone, and then we have to settle for a field goal. Now, granted, Pickens wasn't in there. So that kind of hurt us a little bit. I mean,
yeah,
you definitely...
You could tell.
You definitely see the connection that Wilson and Pickens has. I mean, there's definitely, they just can read each other's minds, okay? You don't have that with the other ones. And I think that Mike Williams played a little bit better. I think he was...
I think he made some crucial...
Yeah, I think that he did well, but it wasn't until later on in the game.
Yeah, you can tell that he was being used more just because of how much our drives were getting completed.
And maybe this is a good thing that he had this game that he could be more the focus, because, if Pickens was in there, he would have got a lot of those throws. But, I think that we started out really slow in that game. Is there any, plays that you really thought were...
Well, from what I remember, I think there was a punt from the Browns, and it landed on the 40-yard line. Okay, so the Steelers, they were already set up in field goal range, basically.
Yeah.
And they had to go for a field goal because they didn't complete the drive. They couldn't make it down to the red zone. And to me, I think that was in the first half. But I was looking at that, and I'm like, you had all the opportunity. The ball was in your court.
Hey, we still scored 27 points.
I know, but that wasn't until after the half. But the Steelers were always that way. They were always a second half team.
Yeah, it is discouraging because when you have opportunities like that, you have to make those, you have to be able to capitalize on those opportunities. It so happens that our place kicker, Boswell, and we looked at this earlier, he tied the team record of 36 field goals, which he actually set back in 2021. And you had mentioned what?
Yeah, the third place for that record was also Chris Boswell with 35.
So he has the top 3 records in Steeler history of field goal kicker.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's entirely a good thing, though, because that tells us that our red zone hasn't been good for quite some time.
You always want to score.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you don't want to walk away. You don't want to have a long drive, 70 yards, and not walk away with at least points. And we're walking away with points. That's the important thing. But field goals aren't going to get you wins in the playoffs, especially a Super Bowl, if we make it that far.
Well, 2 of those games, it was 12 field goals. That's hard to think about. That's hard to imagine.
But on the other side, you had Dustin Hopkins with the Browns their place kicker, and he had 2 opportunities and missed both field goals. So he's 0 for 2. and they weren't real long field goals. So I was like surprised that he actually missed those.
Well, I heard that Chris Boswell's leading the AFC for the Pro Bowl.
Oh, really?
Of course. I mean, he's the best kicker in the NFL. I believe.
Do you think
he's going to sound the best kicker in the NFL?
Do you think they would ever give an MVP to a kicker?
Well, they probably should, because I think his percentage.
Doesn't he have like 120 points or something? It's
I'm not sure how many points. Last time I think it was 128. The last time I checked.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but the amount of times that I see other teams kicking from 50 plus yards and they miss. Okay, sometimes they butcher it, especially with Justin Tucker on the Ravens. He used to be very good, and now he's turning into rust. But Chris Boswell, he kicks that straight down the middle, no questions asked, no concerns. He cuts it like sliced bread. You know, it's just crazy to see, like, how good our kicker is, and it'll be really sad once he's gone, because we're so used to.
Yeah, well, we've lucked out with some really good kickers, and Gary Anderson was with the Steelers for a very long time, and he was a really good kicker. He may actually hold the record for points, Steelers points. But what about that? You know, we watched the Hard Knocks. Okay.
I actually got it on HBO Max because I couldn't find it online, so my dad could watch. So I just figured I'll just get it.
Yeah, last week we're talking about not getting HBO.
I just got it because I couldn't find it on YouTube. I couldn't find it on websites.
And then you went out and got it anyway.
Yeah,
and so we watched the entire episode of Hard Knocks, and I'll tell you what, that was actually awesome to watch, and it really shows you the behind the scenes and how great of a coach Tomlin is.
Yeah.
I mean, if you looked at how he was coaching in the other ones, you know, the other coaches, it's like night and day.
For me, it's like when you look at Zach Taylor, who's the head coach for the Bengals, and then you look at Tomlin, I see people saying, oh, Zach Taylor couldn't even motivate me to get out of bed. You know, he is like when you see the difference between Mike Tomlin and Zach Taylor, you feel like the room's atmosphere is completely different. When you look at the players that are in the Bengals facility, and then you look at the Steelers players, completely different.
Well, it seemed like with the Steelers, it was business.
Everyone's smiling. Everyone, like I said last week, TJ Watt looked like he wanted to kill somebody. People are writing stuff down. But when you look at the Bengals, there's one clip I saw of Jamar Chase, and he looked like he was falling asleep. Like, I'm not even joking. And then other times I've seen him and Joe Burrow talking to each other.
Weren't even paying attention.
Not even paying attention. And yeah, okay, fine. I know that they're a good duo. I know they've been putting up season record numbers. But
this is what
you need to focus on business.
This is what the other players are saying.
Yeah,
and if they're not seeing you paying attention, why should they?
Exactly.
You know.
And when you see Russell Wilson, and right next to him is Justin Fields. Justin Fields is like writing stuff down. He's learning, and he's not even playing. He's focusing when he has to be put in there. He's got to be ready. He's got to make sure he's ready.
Now, there was a part of that show that Keeanu Benton got up and was
he was
giving a speech.
Yeah, giving a speech in the hotel as they were on the road to the Cincinnati game.
Now, is that a person that put his actions where his mouth is?
Yes. Like, he is a leader, and he showed that this game with a clutch interception, which, by the way, Keeanu Benton made that into an interception. He was down the middle. He could have ran straight for the quarterback. No, he turns left. You're like, oh. and then he puts his hands up, grabs the ball at the line. It was a very good interception. And I believe that the Steelers managed to turn that into a touchdown that drive.
You know, and the thing is that we, as a team, we're not doing terribly great like we normally did in the past as far as sacking the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but our pressures and our turnovers. I mean, if I go in here and I look at just the turnover differential, it's crazy.
There was one sack from Alex Highsmith, and I saw this on YouTube. The Browns was all the way on the other side of the field, and there was like only three people rushing. I'm not even joking. You watch a video, there was only 3 people rushing, and Alex Highsmith manages to get this sack. And I'm like, they don't even need 4 people.
Well, the Browns are a -10 in turnovers, which means that that means that they have more lost opportunities than they have have gained.
Yeah.
But if you go to our next game, and we'll be talking about our next game, but I just want to bring it up. The Eagles have 4 turnovers, so they're a +4.
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers are tied for first at a +17.
That's hard to believe. A lot of that has to do with how clean the Steelers have been playing all year. Like, I'm talking, from what I can think of, in terms of interceptions, the Steelers probably only had like 4 interceptions. Probably not even that much. But when it comes to Russell Wilson, from what I can remember, from memory, is I can only remember him throwing one interception and I think 2 fumbles for a loss. That's all I can remember, which is very good considering that he's played in I think 6 games.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
I'm going to mention 2 plays here in that game against Cleveland. One I actually didn't even write down. But the 4th and 1 at Pittsburgh 48, the Cleveland had the ball and they went for it.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of just doing a quarterback
sneak or just like doing
or even have a running back just run up the center.
Yeah.
They try this like handing it off, running out around.
Running the outside.
And, I mean, good for us because we stopped them. But it's like, is that what makes a good team, or do they not trust?
It looked like he was going to like cut into the left side, but then there was Steelers players everywhere, so he had to come back around. And at that point, he was already down. He lost like 4 yards.
But I mean,
after that play,
it's things like that. It's like, why not just punt the ball?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know what quarter that was in. I want to say it was like 3rd quarter. Why not just punt the ball? Now, the other one in here, and then I'll go back talk about something else. But one of the last plays of the game, it could have been the last play of the game, where we punted, and it might have been a kickoff, but I think it was a punt, and their returner muffed the football right at the end, wasn't it?
I can't remember.
1 hour later.
We're back. We had to take a split break there. 3 minutes left in the game. We punt the ball, and the Browns muffed it. He didn't catch the ball, and we ended up getting it.
Well,
with 3 minutes left, this is Browns' opportunity. Okay? This is another reason why they're a -10, in turnovers. Because they turned the ball over so much.
Yeah. And that was from Kadarius Toney. Okay, Kadarius Toney. And he used to play for the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Kansas City Chiefs got rid of him. They just threw him out. And he ended up getting traded to the to the Browns. And I don't think this was the first time he actually muffed a punt in this game or something. I think he also did it previously.
Yeah.
But this one was crucial for the Browns. They had to get this ball. And very end of the game, Steelers ball. Ends up dropping that
Well,
punt.
that's what I mean. It's like
it ended in a Browns way.
So they turned it over there. They missed 2 field goals. Okay. I think the Steelers would have still won if things went their way. But you can't help the fact that Jameis Winston? Yeah, Jameis Winston. He had a couple interceptions,
Yeah.
as well as he did, a week ago.
Yeah, like 497.
400 and some yard. He did awful this game.
Well, last week, or I should say 2 weeks prior, when he had those amount of yards, insane amount of yards, those interceptions were crucial. Like, they were in the red zone. Okay, they were in the red zone. They were losing, but they could have easily won that game. But it's these small mistakes, or I shouldn't say small, but these big mistakes at the end of the game, they can't finish a game. And that's the issue when every time I see the Browns, if that's prime time or if that's whenever they play against the Steelers, they seem to do good, but they make these crucial mistakes. They have an interception here, that bad kickoff return or punt return, and it just seems like these mistakes are what's really costing them games.
They can never plug a hole.
Mm-hmm.
If they have an issue on their team, I mean, just look at how many quarterbacks they've had over the past years. It's like they can never ever fix anything, and it seems like that's the same thing this year. They're not able to fix anything. Now Nick Chubb, their running back, we were able to hold him to it was like 50 yards, maybe a little bit less than that. That's also important that our defense can step up the occasion when it comes to somebody that has a decent running back and be able to stop that.
The Steelers injured their running back last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think broke like all the ligaments in his leg or something.
That was that Nick Chubb.
Yeah, it was Minka Fitzpatrick that ended up causing that. And they're slowly putting Nick Chubb in the games. They're not having him play all games.
You don't think that played with his brain a little bit, do you?
Maybe a little bit. I think maybe a little bit, because I've heard him talk about, I'm going back to the battleground. Like, he makes it sound like he was fighting in Gettysburg or something. Like, he's like, I'm going back to where I was last injured.
Well, we both picked the Steelers last week.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up winning. I wanted it to be a decisive win. We needed to go out there.
And it was decisive. Yeah.
I mean, and I think that was, they scored another touchdown at the end of the game. And I think the only reason that was is that we kind of
playing safe.
Yeah, we play safe. Well, our defense gets into that mode that, they just don't want to give up a big play.
Mm-hmm.
And so whether that's just, allowing short passes, and eventually that may end up, in a touchdown.
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed during that game, and I know you want to start talking about the other game.
Yeah.
But is that it seems like what's his name? Joey Porter Jr.
Oh yeah.
Can't seem to get away from penalties.
Well, he had that unsportsmanlike, I think, right? I can't remember.
He had a couple pass interference.
I think it was I think the big one was that unsportsmanlike or whatever, or unnecessary roughness. I can't remember what it was.
But
I think it was unsportsmanlike.
But it's like they need to fix that because I think he's a very good corner. Okay, there's no doubt about it. He has very long arms. Okay,
his physique is made to be a cornerback.
But he really is like grabs.
Yeah,
and I've said this before. They need to put boxing gloves on him, so that way during practice, I mean, he really or tape his hands together where you can't grab anybody.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I highly doubt that his dad's telling him all this stuff because I think he's just allowing Mike Tomlin to do his thing.
Yeah.
Because if I know anything about football, don't let your parents teach you what you should do or not do. That's the coach's job. So I don't think him having a dad who's all experienced, all knowing, and played for the Steelers, I highly doubt that his dad is telling him what to fix and what not. I guarantee he's just allowing Tomlin to do his thing. But I just think Joey Porter hasn't really improved all that much.
Well,
like it seems like he's always been pretty handsy.
Yeah, he seems like but it seems like there'll be one game, like every 2 games, he'll do pretty well, but yet then there's a game that it's just like he'll have 3 or 4 flags, and that's 3 or 4 too many, to be honest with you, as a corner,
Yeah.
Because what's the point of being a corner if you're going to offer up pass interference
and then it goes 50 yards?
Yeah.
Because I think that's how much it was in the Bengals game. I think it was like 50 so yards that he managed to give up.
Yeah. But all in all, I think the Steelers did really well in that game. I think that defensively, we probably could have done a little bit better in the first quarter. I think offensively, we played pretty solid 2.5 quarters. We seem like we always have a slow start.
Yeah, I was worried about the start of this game. I saw a bunch of 3-and-outs, and I thought that we were just I thought it was going to be all game because it lasted so long.
It seemed like Russell Wilson kind of like it takes him a little while to, he actually had some.
Sometimes it takes him a while. Sometimes it doesn't.
He actually had a couple good throws running the ball, and I think 2 of those were touchdowns.
But don't forget, like the Browns have a very good pass rush.
Yeah.
So it's we got to.
Well, they definitely have a better defense than the Bengals.
Yeah.
And this is why I wanted us to do well, because this way, it's nobody's going to sit there and say, well, the only reason they put 44 points up against the Bengals is because they have awful defense. They have an awful defense. Okay. But that's about all I have for taking that game apart, being able to talk about it. But is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think that's it. I think we really talked about, all the stuff that was going on in this game and how slow start it was and how we managed to step it up at halftime and execute it.
All right.
And yeah.
All right. Well, visit us at gapgab.com. This is Gary, Alex Petrie. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, we'll see you guys.